Welcome back to Granja Caimito in the Pedroche Valley of Andalusia, Spain. While Mama Dog Miriam takes a nap, let's go and check out what Angel is up to.
Tengo que comprar una cuerda más resistente. Me mete el hilo este, pero ya será otra cosa. Ya se meterá otra cosa, ¿vale?
That was about the guide string that we want to leave in the pipe so that we can easily pull cables through. We are burying a water pipe so that it stays frost-free, and also an empty tube so that we can add all kinds of cables, electricity and communication below ground for future projects. The device that you see there in the center of the image is a solar water heater. It has a capacity of 200 liters and is very efficient, but it has not worked as well as we wanted it to be. Juan and Juan are trying to figure out how to properly install edge posts so that the wire mesh in between them can be properly tensioned. The growing period for this paddock is over and we want to let the horses in, but we need to set up the fence so that the horses won't venture out into the area where we dug this little pond. There used to be an imperfect fence between the wannabe food forest to the left and the paddock B3, and now we want to seize the opportunity to do it right. The pond is slowly filling up with the discharge from the house. No black water, it is only grey. And we want this area to be excluded from animal access so that we can start planting something here once the temperature rises.
El que manda ahora es este. Ah.
Whenever possible, the guys use this gas-powered auger to make a hole. It is much quicker when it works and there's not so many stones than any other way that we have talked about. We probably will have to use one of the other ways soon, and you will see it by then. As you can see, it's a huge challenge. This machine is clearly made for a totally different type of soil. So far we have shredded 3 of these machines. This is now the 4th one. This type of device is not made for our case and won't last. Thankfully, no bones were hurt. Now this won't go any further, and now the stones have to be picked by hand. The cows are coming down this animal lane to drink water down here. The idea is to not have open water accessible to wildlife that may transmit tuberculosis or another pathogen to our livestock in the remote areas of our land. Plus, walking is good and healthy for their body and mind. This is not the final installation, but it works very well for now. We always have to start and make do with things that are already there and improve them step by step before we make an investment of time and money and material into something that we first have to learn what we need and how it works and where best to put it, So it's an iterative process, and that way we make something that is better in the very end. These narrow animal lanes also enable something else. We can have a high-resolution surveillance camera look on and review the footage at will. That way we can be busy with other tasks and still check on the whole herd, their composition and behavior at a time when it best suits us. It might even be possible to have the head count done automatically. It is important to see each animal every day, and now that we have technology available, we can use it to be more effective and gain efficiency in our work. The bulls constantly measure each other. That is very important to them. It is also important for the whole herd. It needs to be clear who is the leading bull, the biggest and strongest one.
Well, that is something new. I just showed up here, they came running, and now I have them all around the jeep. It's the blue cow, and the blue cow brings food. And so does think Mr. Bull here. It's the first that they came that close. They are protesting. Because I stepped through the fence, which they cannot, and I went here where there is some green grass. And they have been limited to the paddock where they are. So the next one is not yet available. It will be, but they have learned that they can ask, and that is what they do. So the blue cow did not bring alfalfa pellets, and the human does not open a gate to another paddock. And that is why they are a bit upset. It's very interesting to see how all these animals do communicate with humans. So I have learned a lot about interspecies communication. More people should make this experience. And that is where they should be going next. So this is right at the edge of the Altiplano, where the downslope begins and where we have all the aromatic plants. So this is one patch around this tree, and over there is more and more green. But also, and you have seen this in the video before, there are open areas with no grass. But that is why we want to bring them in here. And once we have fenced this, we have 10 temporary paddocks that are very large. And number 10 here will be the last one, and then it's about making them smaller. And they're probably that large that we can make at least 3 out of each. So that means we get 30 paddocks instead of just 10. Doesn't make more grass right away, but at least we can then manage this in a better way. But then of course after spring there will be summer, and it will be equally as dry as before. Doesn't mean that we have more forage available, but we can then still continue rotating them and do the usual game of alfalfa pellets and straw. But I'm also working on sourcing something like oat hay, which contains some veg also. And I have looked also with the straw delivery person into bringing alfalfa bales or something like that. There are options, but it looks like there is not a lot of demand here in this area. Because the usual model is raise calves, sell them by the beginning of summer, and then maintain the mother animals over summer based on straw and alfalfa pellet the cheapest way possible. But I want to compare, and I can probably share this what I then will find, what the alternative would be. And yes, I do like this idea of unrolling a round bale so that we can also plant a little bit that way. But unfortunately, round bales, they are not available here. So whatever we get is square. And that means we cannot simply unroll. We have to do it in a different way. But we will see. So this is now the next step.
I was feeding the dogs, and look what I found. They aren't supposed to be there. Something must have happened. Let's find out.
Well, it is Saturday around noon, and I was wondering why our cows are in the easement. Well, that is the answer. So somehow they had a quarrel and they destroyed this, and then some of them were wandering out, and that includes all the calves. So now we have to bring them back. So they managed to force this open, and I closed it. There is no duct tape, but there is baling wire, and so that is a proper solution. It will last for a very long time. And of course the thing there in the middle needs proper fixing. And now we need to go and bring them back. They are somewhere along the seasonal creek in the middle of the land. So it's not very far. Well, so here they are. They wanted to see the rest of the farm ahead of time. But they're just in the driveway, so it's very easy to push them back into the area where they belong to. The neighbor has the sheep out. There is not much forage, but the sheep are out, and I also learned something. The older couple does not have any animals anymore. They rented it out. So these sheep are from someone else. And that is probably the person who got in touch with the guys earlier to ask about fixing the fence so that the wild boars can't go in. So we are eager to have a conversation with that person and show him around. And maybe we can collaborate somehow.
As we are bringing back the bovines to the place where they're supposed to be, I had to be here quickly to chase them out and away from the pond. But you can see how the pond looks like today.
So it appears that everybody is back from this little excursion. And of course this needs proper fixing, because they can escape again. So we'll see whether this can hold Sunday and get fixed Monday, or we need to do something now.
They are back at the Altiplano, doing their job to improve the land, and have received alfalfa pellets as a supplemental feed. It does appear that we are having more and more of these magpies. At the moment they are greatly welcome, because they scratch in the cow manure and distribute it. And that is a very positive thing. That doesn't mean that we don't need chicken or don't want chicken. These magpies won't lay eggs that we can sell. And of course it's a few in comparison to some several hundred laying hens. But still, that is a very good sign, because it means they come here because something is improving. So I view this as a very positive sign. Last year, during the very hot summer, we had lost our batteries. That was about 5,000 euros in batteries. That was a lot of capacity, and now we are back to half of it. Especially in the early morning. Because of that, we have to run the generator until the sun creates enough electricity. And then at night we have to run it again. That is why you hear so much generator noise in the background. The loss wasn't so much for the heat alone. It was also that the inverters that we had were simply of the wrong kind. They were kind of cheap. Think about just 1,000 euros for a 3-way charge controller, inverter and solar inverter in one simple package. They overheated and they controlled the batteries in the wrong way. Now we are fixing this. We are having a German SMA brand equipment, and this stays a lot cooler and works much better and treats the batteries much nicer.
She just started the calving process. They don't scream, but the same way as with a human woman, this is not simple. There is a lot of pain involved, and that is why she has the head bent like that. They lay down and stand up to somehow get it moving. It's not her first time, so I'm very positive that she will manage. Unfortunately, the last time she lost the calf, something was wrong. But at least she has given birth before, so that is always much easier then. Well, you can see how she's trying to push. It will take a while.
During the calving process, first the two forelegs appear. And when the cow pushes a little bit more, you can also see that the tongue emerges. And that means the calf is already starting to breathe air. If now the calving process stops, the calf will drown. And that is a very bad thing, obviously. So what the cow needs to manage is to get the head out, so that at least, if it now takes a little bit longer, the calf is able to breathe air. And then the head is pretty big, and sometimes, in the case of male calves, this is then a big problem because the calf gets stuck when the birth canal is not wide enough. So the cow has to push and push, and if she cannot, then we have a tool to help her push. So we basically drag while she pushes. And that way the calf comes out. But this is very difficult, and here and there the calf won't make it, because it either does not start to breathe, or there's some other complication, or it gets squeezed and there's internal damage. We had all this happen last year. This time it is more or less okay. That is why we have so many new calves, thankfully. This is now going on for quite a while, and so I decided to call for help. While we wait for help, we can walk around and have a look at what everybody else is up to.
The bull was about to mount her.
The bull licks the cows and tries to stay close. Usually, they engage in some kind of dance until there is an opportunity, and then he jumps on her back.
Now we have all three bulls there. But it looks like the one right next to the cow is the one who has preference, and the others know about that.
Some of you may say, but how can you do this? The bull is way too big for this cow. Yes, I can see that. But then remember the history. The cow is one of those 16 limousine cows that we bought. And usually limousine cows aren't very small. But then the thing is, apparently they were destined for a feedlot, to be fattened quickly using grain. And somehow, in our case, eating just grass, which is the normal diet for a cow, they never grew very well. So there is an issue here. And we also lost some of those limousine cows. We are definitely not doing anything on purpose. We just have to work with what we have and what other people supply us with. So this cow was never meant to be breeding stock. Her destiny was to be fed quickly within a year and then be killed in a slaughterhouse for meat. Now she has a chance for life. And hopefully getting pregnant and giving birth will allow her to live a lot longer. That would be a good thing.
I can tell you guys something else as well. I just had a conversation with our veterinarian, and he explained to me that the way of feeding them when there is not enough forage, by using alfalfa pellets and straw, not hay, is the best option from his point of view. And he said if I were to use hay, then in any case alfalfa pellets were necessary, because the hay is not the same thing as fresh grass, and due to the situation here in Spain, the hay is not of the same quality as elsewhere, but it is extremely expensive in comparison to straw. And that is apparently the reason why everybody uses this technique. So looks like during summer, in case we cannot produce something else, at least for a little while, that is what we are going to stick with. And by the way, as you can see, the sky is grey. There's a forecast of some rain for later today. We will see if it happens and how much it's going to be. It appears that these two are also added. Not all of them got pregnant. Some of the smaller limousine cows were left out, and apparently now their time has come.
I want to stress one thing. We are not in the cow breeding business. That is not what is going on. We started with a herd, And now we are trying to grow that herd, because we cannot buy additional adult animals. There is this notion here in this area, and the idea is you are supposed to have 0.4 large animal units per hectare. We have already way more than that. Something like mob grazing is not recognized or well known. So what we are doing to restore the land is something that we would otherwise be restricted from using. So we just breed to grow the herd. And we do this in the most natural way possible. And this is how it looks like. And yes, it would be a pity that a cow that is a little bit too small gets pregnant and then does not survive. But we provide all the help that we can, and I don't think that is a mistreatment or an abuse of the animal. That was it for today. The rain did not come. Please come back in 3 days, and I will tell you how 5/5/10's calving process finished. Stay tuned, come back soon.